The best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets casket is got. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Get your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
Welcome. This is FantasyFling for your Week 8 cash lineup review. It's going to be a brief one, but let's go ahead and get right into it. My cash lineup. A couple things I want to go over. It's just kind of what I did, what other DFS Army VIPs did. In fact, let's start it out on a positive note. We got Thomas DY. Maybe next year he'll be doing this cash show because he's been killing it recently. 180 points, which was pretty high. And normally I would worry, like if you have 180 points in kind of a lower scoring week with your cash lineup. But looking at his lineup, he just nailed all the plays. Like these were all like chalk plays. So Jalen Hurts was a chalk. Isaiah Pacheco was a chalk. And, he clearly did not get there. But he still was a good play and the chalk. So you play him. Breece Hall, same thing. He was the highest owned running back. I had put him down on my sheet as the lock of the week as a highest owned running back, underpriced at 5,900 relative for his role and his skill set and ownership. Like it was just an easy play. He smashed. Jordan Addison. He was one of the best plays at wide receiver, still underpriced due to his role. Now we're going to have to evaluate that going forward. Without Kirk Cousins, it's not going to look the same. And I probably don't want to play Jordan Addison in cash anymore with that quarterback uncertainty. But for this week, he was really good. Zay Flowers was a dud this week, but same thing. This was a really good matchup for Zay Flowers and that offense, but the offense just went through Gus Edwards this week, but nonetheless, at his price, with the volume that he'd been getting, he's still, 26% target share. He was a great play. Rashid Shaheed, now this was the one punt in the lineup, I think, that kind of just smashed and elevated the score. It's not typically what you see for a cash lineup, but I am okay with kind of a one punt type scenario. If you're eating a lot of good chalk, and you're also getting a guy like Rashid Shaheed who, is getting consistent targets, but is kind of a boomer bust play. But, in a decent matchup because Indy's defense has been bad, the past several weeks. So if you're going to take a punt under 4K in that type of scenario. So certainly think that was good. Trey McBride was a core play for me. I had him on my sheet as a core play. In fact, we're going to get to that next. And then Christian McCaffrey is always a top cash play. So it's just a matter of, whether you pay all the way up for a running back like Christian McCaffrey, but he is certainly always in the mix because of the amount of volume that he sees and because of his floor. Just, 12 plus games with a touchdown, just crazy. And then, pay down at defense. Like defense is a lot of variance at tight end and defense. This is something that I preach on my cash VIP breakdown each and every week. If you're going to pay down anywhere, please pay down at tight end and please pay down at defense. Thomas DY obviously understands this. This is what he did. $2,500 defense, $2,800 tight end. And this is how he was able to cash. So another lineup that was sent to me. They hit the cash line. Wow. 67 out of 67 head-to-heads. One. Really good stuff. Dak Prescott, Alvin Kamara, Brees Hall, Brandon Ayuk. So he had ended up being being chalk. So did Zay Flowers. So did Tank Dell, Tony Pollard, and Trey McBride. So Tony Pollard was kind of one of those things. Is we'll go over to the chalkboard. Even though he didn't have a good day, he was, and same with Falcon Z, they were extremely chalk. So the fact that, Prescott hit, Kamara hit, Brees Hall hit, Ayuk hit, and Trey McBride hit, it really didn't matter. This was essentially where you wanted to be at the cash line, 147 points. And you see, actually, with my lineup, I did miss the cash line. Now, I will say this is kind of one of those weeks where there were a few quarterbacks, and we're going to go to the chalkboard and kind of look at this, who are similarly priced. And if one duds and one goes off, you could probably stomach that. But also, if you have like another dud somewhere else, like Isaiah Pacheco at 6,100, this is essentially how you miss the cash line. So Lamar Jackson was the highest. He had the highest projection on the slate. He had the highest ownership on the slate, and he was 8,100, so he wasn't cheap. So when you get a 11 from him, that's not good, right? But you can stomach it if you kind of smash everywhere else. But I didn't smash everywhere else. So Lamar and Zay Flowers, and this is one of those things I talk about. I don't really like stacking in cash games. And, going forward, I'm probably going to try to construct my lineup just a little bit different. I will say I won't force a stack. I don't like stacking in cash games, but I won't force a stack, but I'll allow it to happen. But this is that situation where I allowed it to happen, but I got burned because of it, because Lamar had 12 points almost, and Flowers had 6 points. So between the two, 18 points, like just abysmal, really. And that's kind of what happens when a guy like Gus Edwards gets all the carries and gets the touchdowns. If Lamar throws one touchdown to Zay Flowers, this is hitting the cash line. But it didn't happen because I had a stack. So it's kind of about like minimizing your risk, like in your portfolio. So that, thinking back on it, that's what I would have done differently. If I kept Jordan Addison in here, I would have had AJ Brown or not AJ Brown, Lamar. I'm sorry, Hurts. I would have had Hurts, Jalen Hurts in this lineup. Or maybe I keep Lamar in here, but I go somewhere else as opposed to Zay Flowers. So something to keep in mind. And then, Isaiah Pacheco, it was a good game script on paper. It was a good matchup, but he just didn't get there. So when you have several of these guys miss, you can eat all the good chalk, but you need the chalk to perform still. And then the same with the Falcons D. It was a great spot, but Will Levis was much better than we thought. So this is what happens in cash games. You're going to miss a cash lineup sometimes. That's just how it goes. AJ Brown smashed. Trey McBride smashed. Addison, Brees Hall. So you make a lot of good calls, but some of these guys in good matchups just didn't get there. And that's just how it goes. After 8 weeks, we've cashed 6 weeks, and is what it is. One thing I want to point out, though, is head-to-heads. So I actually won the majority of my head-to-heads, but I didn't cash because I lost the double up, the $25 double up. And when you're playing head-to-heads, you're also going against a rake. So, but this is also why I say you want to play head-to-heads, because if you have a bad week in cash, you could still minimize your loss by going against people who had a worse week than you. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. This is a one-on-one versus a field of 5,000 plus where, I'm trying to beat half of that field. I'm much more confident going against a bunch of one-on-ones where I know there's going to be bad lineups. And when I say bad lineups, it's not necessarily the people don't know what they're doing. It's just they make little mistakes that can have a big impact. So this lineup, for example, played a Washington Commanders defense that was going against the Philadelphia Eagles, who we know can score a lot of points. Also, the Washington Commanders defense is not elite. They give up a lot of points. So, they give up 31 plus points. That's how they got it too. Okay. Vikings were in a much better spot going against Jordan Love. for just $200 more. Michael Gallup, this was a low owned play in cash games. He was $400. Or I'm sorry, he was $3,400. He scored 4 points. So this lineup had Tony Pollard and Michael Gallup. So had kind of a stack, but Gallup being contrarian, and there were just certainly better options. But you played Tony Pollard, who was chalk, Alvin Kamara, who was chalk, Brandon Ayuk, who was chalk, Zay Flowers, who was chalk, Trey McBride, who was chalk, and Breece Hall, who was chalk. So this was overall like a really good lineup. The two questionable spots, I would say, that really kind of set me apart and helped me beat out this lineup was a Michael Gallup, a contrarian $3,400 player, and Washington Commanders at 2,300. So this is kind of what I mean, how you can win the majority or at least a good percentage of your head-to-heads, even though you may miss a cash line. And this is something that you definitely want to be playing a lot of head-to-heads in your cash games. Cash games are 50-50s, double-ups, and head-to-heads. So, we go to the chalkboard, and this is something, that I talk about every week. The chalkboard, you can really build your lineup just looking at the chalkboard. So you kind of look here and you're like, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. If I want to pay up for some of these studs like Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott is a way to go. And that's exactly how you can do it. So you can fit Dak, Christian McCaffrey. You pay down for Breece Hall. You jam in a Tank Dell or Jordan Addison, a Nico Collins. And then you can still get in an A.J. Brown. You go to Trey McBride at defense or at tight end and then pay down a defense. So you now got a Dak, Christian McCaffrey, A.J. Brown, Breece Hall, Tank Dell, Trey McBride lineup that easily hits the cash line. So this is something that we talk about for DFS Army. VIPs, when we do our cash breakdown, VIP picks each and every week, which I'm doing that on Thursday nights now. This is kind of the general strategy we talk about in addition to the domination station and the coaches' cheat sheets for cash games, for tournaments. These are all tools that you have at your disposal as a DFS Army VIP. You can use code FantasyFling for 10% off a VIP subscription. And also, I am going to include a free month offer. So if you're a little skeptical, you've never signed up for another DFS Army service in the past, you want to give it a try, you can do a free month offer. I will include that link in the video. And if you like this kind of content, let me know. Hit that like button, comment, let me know, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our content. But that's going to do it for the Week 8 review. Of course, for the DFS Army VIPs, I will be back on Thursday shooting the DFS Army Cash VIP strategy video. And then nonetheless, we will see you next week for another week in review. Peace.